It's confirmed, I'm doing it. I'm doing the IX flares. So let's take a look and see how it fits. These are the IS side skirts. I love the style, I love the look, but unfortunately it will not allow me to have Fender flares. The IX side skirts rather will allow me to have flares. And I was able to source a set of IX side skirts from a really good friend of mine, and I wanted to see how it would look. So I want to remove the IS side skirts, and I want to put the IX skirt and flares on to see how it would look. So let's do a quick time lapse to see how I can remove the IS side skirts and put the IX stuff on. I obviously am not going to be drilling into my fenders. As it stands right now, I do not plan to do that, so I will be using some other means of attaching this body kit onto the car. So stand by and let's see how I do it. This is the IX and the IS side skirts by comparison. You can see that the length of the actual main side skirt is the same terminating location on the front, but the rear, obviously, it extends all the way to the back, whereas this has a connection to the rear flare. But if you turn them over and you line the fronts up, you'll see that the location of the grommets to install onto the body are exactly the same. And that's awesome because the holes that I drilled originally for the IS side skirts will fit exactly to the IX. So really, to fit the IX on is really just making sure that all the clips are transferred and then it just screws right in. Not screws, nothing screwing. But I do want to, I do need to make sure that I have some double stick tape for the fenders to make sure that it sticks, and then I could see kind of like what it looks like when you put them on. Clips that do most of the work. It's a two-part clip. It's used for IS or IX side skirts. This guy goes in, this little slit here goes into the actual plastic skirt, and then it clamps in by means of this second guy pushing in to there, and then it kind of clicks in. If you can see here, there's little teeth on the top and the bottom, and if you push, the teeth kind of push and click in. And it doesn't come out, right? So the real grip is actually being done right in this little groove here. And to remove it is actually pretty easy. You just take a pair of pliers and you can squeeze on this hole and this hole here, and then you can pull it right back out. So they are reusable, don't believe what anybody else tells you. These actually are reusable, and they're not cheap either. I mean, a couple bucks a clip does add up if you're talking about both sides. So let's reuse these clips for the IX and see how it works. line it up down here, line it up against the ridge, and push. Now, I didn't do the entire circumference, just like a snippet here and a snippet here. But I just wanted to see like how it would hold and what the spacing would be. Obviously, I don't want the 3M sticky tape to be the full level of adherence, and I do plan to grip it in a different way that allows me to still remove the kit and use something else if I ever wanted to. But I wanted to see how good this tape idea really does hold. The paint is new, so I'm not really concerned about that. I mean, the paint is good, sticky, clear coat applied still, so I'm actually this is holding pretty good, but usually when it comes to tape, time stands the real test, you know? So, this actually looks pretty good. Cool so far. So to install the rear fender flare, I need to remove this rear quarter trim. Basically install it just like that. And the reason I had to remove it is because it interfered with the rising edge of the actual fender flare on the rear. But if I were to take all that out of the equation and just try to install the flare as is, it does sit quite nicely in the flare, and it sits really nice. Makes a really good complete arch, and it matches, and it certainly does position the fender flare lower, which is, I guess, the whole point of IX flares. And then if you push it up against here, you'll see that there, on the inner lip, there are a couple of opportunities to put some plastic rivets, and that's exactly what I like to do, and drill in to the sidewall and put those rivets in. So yeah, this should actually be pretty easy. I wanted to see if at least this worked. So I want to take it down, I want to settle it out, and I want to take it for a quick drive just to see like if the tires are rubbing on hard turns or on big bounces or anything like that. I want to make sure that I don't have any type of major interferences I need to worry about, because the way that I've designed this right now is I can always and very easily retrofit it back to the IS side skirts, which I absolutely love, but I really like the IX flares, so I want to see what I can do to make this work. Tell you, I really like it. I mean, other than in the rear, there's a little bit of an additional fender. I can hear it right inside of there. There's a little bit of a lip there. I think that guy's hitting on the tire under hard acceleration. But other than that, I'm actually really happy with it. I mean, when it's all the same color and I get the two fender door flares in there, I think it'll actually look pretty good. I mean, it sticks really well. Time will tell. But once it's painted and bodyworked, I mean, it's going to blend in really well with the car. So I'm very, very happy with it so far. And it doesn't show any signs of letting up. So I'm happy with it. So I figured I'd stop by Liquid's Auto Body Supplies. They're here in Vestal, New York. They're a really good vendor here for Limco paints, so I'm going to end up using them for the base clear 2-stage for the E30 IX skirts. And let's just see how it turns out. Yeah, these guys were great. They were really helpful. They explained to me exactly how to do the ratios. I haven't done ratios in a while, and this is kind of a crazy ratio for the clear coat is an 8:2:1. So they kind of helped explain that to me. They explained to me how to use the adhesion promoter. They promoted a couple of products for removing the stripping on the paint from the plastic really easily. So I'm going to give that a try too. Let's see how this all works out. Okay. Passenger side is still installed, and there's a reason for it. Is because I need to make a big trim to this location right here. It looks like, I don't know how it works on the front. I have to check out the front, but on the back for sure. Looks like this set was for a 4-door, because the way that the flare here goes out, it looks like it would have a direct interference with that. So I need to physically make a cut to this guy right here, the actual flare, to allow this guy to sit inside of it. Unfortunately, it's not working out the way I wanted it to, and I just need to take a Dremel and actually cut it out. It actually needs to push up a little bit more, but I mean, I get into the grooves there. I did nick the paint just a tiny bit there. I'm gonna have to fix that with a little bit of touch up. But overall, I mean, I had to remove the double stick tape, which held really well actually, in order to get the access that I needed. But when it fits all in, it'll actually fit pretty nice. So I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy. Didn't come out as good as I wanted. I think I'm just going to end up trimming it a little bit more when I'm done, and that'll help. It just makes it's just a constant interference here between the black trim and the underside here. There's a lot that can be trimmed out of that underside, so I'm going to end up trimming more out, and then this is going to sit nice and flush. And then when it's all painted the same color, it'll actually look pretty good, I think. But overall, not bad. That's one side done, and now on to the other. Okay, so now that I've gotten all of the parts removed from the E30, I'm going to sand them all down. I'm going to use a orbital sander. This is a 3/32 orbital sander, and I'm using 220 to start, and I'm going to sand it off by hand with 400 to make it nice and smooth. So let's take a quick look and see how I get this sanded first, get all the rough stuff done, make sure it's all smooth, and then we'll go and do some more fine-tune sanding. Let's just do the side skirts for now. Now that I've got them sanded down to 400 by hand, I'm going to use a painting pre-prep. It's like a oily residue type remover, and I'm going to just kind of like lightly apply that to the two side skirts, and then I'm going to apply a primer and get ready for paint. So let's do that right now. So while I was waiting and doing some of the refinishing, I decided to spray some of that aircraft remover on the IS lip, and I am not happy at all. This stuff was explained to me by the guys to just literally remove the paint down to the plastic and you just scrape it on off. Well, I did 2 layers of this stuff, and it is in terrible shape. It is, I'm gonna end up having to sand this whole thing down anyway. I mean, the paint's coming off, but it is layered. I mean, this was a brand new lip painted only once, and it was painted a few years ago, so the paint should still be very new and it shouldn't have any problem coming off. But yeah, this is just despicable. So I'm gonna have to do all the body work to this thing and get it completely smooth again before I paint it. On the bright side, the side skirts actually came out pretty good. I primed them and they are ready for paint now. So all I have to do now is finish up the actual flares, prime them, and then finish up the lip, and then it's just ready for paint and clear coat. I got the Bronze Beige Metallic 139. It's a Limco Supreme Plus paint. And I got an LR12 medium reducer, because good reducer for this moderate temperature, it's good to have a medium reducer as opposed to a quick or a slow reducer. It says 2 parts paint to 1 part reducer, so we're gonna end up doing X amount of ounces for paint and then half that and add the reducer of that exact volume. And then we're gonna mix it, let it sit for a little bit, and then we're gonna start spraying our paint. All right, so I did 6 ounces of color and then another 3 ounces, which is half of 6, up to the 9 ounce mark of the clear coat. Then you just mix it. Makes it really thorough, right? You gotta get it on the edges, make sure it's all homogeneous. Looking good. So after I sanded down all the parts again, after priming with 400 grit, you can use 600 grit if you'd like to for a smoother finish, then you want to use what's called a tack cloth. This is kind of just a big sticky cloth that's folded up, and you need to kind of undo it to it's a thin cloth like this. It's very sticky. You kind of just bunch it up kind of like this, like you're a cat playing with a toy. And then you just kind of lightly graze it over each of your parts, because any dust that settles right before you paint is going to mess up your paint job. So this tack cloth is really sticky, and it's designed to pick up all of that dust and debris that might have fallen, or things that might have just stuck to the part after you finish sanding. So after you drape it with your tack cloth, you are ready to paint. And I got my paint ready. I'm going to lay a couple coats down. I am sorry, I thought I was time-lapsing, but I actually wasn't. I just finished the 3 coats of paint. Turned out pretty good. Let's see it here in the light. A couple little blemishes here and there, but overall, I'm actually pretty surprised and pleasantly surprised with the paint coverage. Very good. But the paint is about 20 minutes dry, so it's a perfect time to apply the clear coat. So I have the 4 flares, I have the 2 side skirts, and I have the front IS lip. So I got perfect opportunity now to apply 2 to 3 coats of clear. First you want to do a light coat, and then you want to do 2 heavier coats. The light coat is there to provide the base for everything else on top of it later to stick onto. So we're going to do a really light coat of clear, and then we're going to do a thicker coat of clear later. All right, so let's do that. Oh, and I won't mess up on the time lapse this time. Clear was applied, and it can be very misleading because you need your first coat to be very, very light so that the rest of the coats, as I said earlier, has something to adhere to. Your heavier coats, your shinier coats, your more impacting coats to your viewing pleasure. However, if you look at this, you're not going to see that it's very shiny at all, and that is okay. The next one is going to be good. The next one is going to be shiny and thick, and you got to be careful. You got to be careful to maintain that you don't have any runs or anything like that. But I think we're going to be in really good shape here. This is looking up pretty good. I think the color match is going to be pretty good, and all we got is a couple more coats of some heavier, thicker clear, and I'm pretty excited about the end result. All right, third coat of clear coat is on, and I gotta tell you, I think that the results are pretty good. It's not even focusing on the right light. I mean, this is pretty typical. I mean, you can see a lot of good reflections here. It's kind of nice. Okay. This is a little different. Not exactly the way I had hoped. Pretty good. A couple of battle wounds there, battle scars. There's one right there too. You can see it in the edge. But overall, I think, you know, no drips, no issues, big issues. I did drop a couple of them. These are precariously placed. If I just touch it a little bit, you can see they kind of swing. I wish there was a better way to hold these awkward looking pieces, but there really isn't, so it's hard to get them. You can see right there, you can see the orange peel there. I'm not too concerned about the orange peel, actually. I think it goes well with the European look of the E30. I think the European look is a little bit more orange peely than the American look. But overall, I'm pretty impressed. I got a B+. I'm going to give myself a B+ for this. A couple parts did fall. I wish I would have rigged it better. But you know what? Honestly, for the amount of effort that I put into it and the amount that I got out, was pretty equivalent. The car's not perfect. The E30, you can probably see out there, it's not perfect. It's got a lot of work that still needs to be done. So the way that these skirts are, I'm pretty satisfied with the results so far. So anyway, let's put these puppies on the car. I waited about a day for the parts to dry from the clear coat. I laid them down on this table on a nice towel so they don't get scratched up, and I started to put on not only my 3M double stick tape where it needed to go, but I also put on all the clips, so all I have to do is just put it on and install it. So let's take a quick look at what I did in terms of getting the clips on and what clips are necessary in order to install these without having to drill into your fenders. So I have my front and my rear. As you can see, the red 3M tape has been applied. I cleaned it all off. I removed all the old tape before I put on the new tape, and it is ready to go. I also installed the clips, this guy here on that side and this guy here on that side. I have my 5 big clips for the side skirt that go onto the frame rail. I have my 2 rivets that go onto the back. That installs right on the back side onto these guys, right there. And then I have these guys. There's 5 of these that are necessary, similar type as this, right? But those just go on the side skirts and they push into the frame rail, and you basically squeeze it on onto these. I'm reusing what I have for the IS side skirts already because the locations are exactly the same, so I'm not really making any changes. And then you obviously need the clip here that goes into the front fender. And it has a nut that goes on the back side, so you need a box wrench in order to install that on the back side of the fender. So that is what you need in order to install these IX skirts. The tape, I have pretty high confidence that the tape is going to adhere very well to the fenders. For those of you who are going to be buying parts from scratch, you're going to need some of the, you see the part number there, of the rivets that go into the fender sidewall, and you need these as well that go into the rocker. These are also important too. These are the ones that go, basically the ones that install into the side skirt. So all these clips are necessary in order to install your IX skirts onto your E30. So hopefully this installation will go well. Hopefully the paint color will match well. And let's bring the car back into the garage and let's size it up and get this thing installed and compare to the other side. All right, I got all my tools, I got all my hardware, and I got to do this on the ground. So I'm going to jack the car up just a little bit. I don't need to remove the front wheel because as long as I turn it all the way to the right, I should have the access I need behind the fender in order to get to that nut that I was talking about earlier. The rear, I do need to remove the tire, the wheel and tire in order to get access for those plastic rivet nuts that screw onto the side. So I do need to install them. So that's the only thing I need to do. Other than that, the rest of this should be just clean, stick on, peel away, and push in. Wish me luck. Overall, not too bad. Not too bad. Again, I give myself a B+ in fitment. The IS side skirts locations that I made was actually pretty good. There's a little bit of a gap in there. I hope that doesn't widen over time. But I mean, the wheel arch looks good. I did not lower the car at all. But I mean, it seems like it's making pretty good adhesion that is, across. I mean, I don't know. I like it. I really do. And I also got the front skirt back on. Color match is okay. It's a little different. You can see a little different. But I wouldn't know how to avoid that with my level of expertise in painting. But overall, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Let's see what kind of rubbing I have. But that really isn't the biggest problem. The biggest travesty is that I spilled my beer. I spilled my beer! I spilled my beer!